Hello everyone, I wish you a peaceful and wonderful day. Just as Toan finally finds a small ray of hope for a new job, a hidden criminal plan is forming at the end of the village road only a few fields away. And if it unfolds, the fragile stability he and Tu Diem are trying to protect could collapse at any moment. Now let's explore the story of Toan and Tu Diem together. Will their slow but steady steps be enough to face the changes that are quietly approaching? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next ones. Morning light slips through the gaps of the bamboo fence and stretches across the damp ground in long, narrow lines. The red chrysanthemums placed along the edge of the yard are brighter than usual, their petals thick and fresh as if washed by the new sun. The breeze after Tet is no longer cold. It carries a mild warmth that makes the bamboo leaves tremble and spreads the smell of moist soil through the yard. Toan stands beside Tu Diem. The distance between them is so close that their sleeves touch, yet they remain quiet. The silence is not heavy. It feels like a rare pause after many days of calculating money and work. She looks at the flowers for a long time and says softly that this year the chrysanthemums bloom fast and beautifully. There is a small joy in her voice because even in their shortage, something still grows on time. Toan bends down, picks up a small stone, turns it in his hand, and points to the empty patch near the banana trees. He says that when he has time, he will gather stones and build a low table so they can sit there in the afternoon, put a teapot on it, and watch the blossoms. He speaks slowly and clearly, as if reminding himself that this is something he must do. The promise is small, but in their situation it is a real plan that can be done with their own strength and without money. She nods. Her eyes brighten, but a thin layer of worry remains behind. She bends down and picks up stones with him. They stack them into a small pile and talk about the weather, about how the flowers bloom early, about the duck that laid more eggs last night. The topics are simple, but they make the morning last longer. In Toan's eyes there is still calculation. He looks toward the dirt road that leads to the town where he will ride to look for a job. He knows these stones cannot hold their life steady. She notices the look. She puts the stone down and holds his hand longer than usual. The grip is not tight, but it lasts long enough for him to understand that she stands with him in everything that is coming. The wind passes, carrying the scent of chrysanthemums and the feeling that time is moving faster. The sun climbs higher, and the light turns from pale gold to white, shortening their shadows. Toan rolls the old motorbike out into the yard and checks the fuel by shaking it lightly. He opens the seat and looks again at the small bag of documents. These are the familiar movements of someone about to travel, even if the distance is only a few dozen kilometers. She stands beside him with her hands clasped together, watching every action as if trying to remember it. She says she does not know what to wish for except luck, her voice trembling because she is not sure luck will come. He turns back, takes her hand and says every job needs luck, but what he thinks about most is how they can continue to live together as they do now. The sentence is not long, but it makes her bend down and take the money she hid under the pillow the night before. She presses it into his palm and says it belongs to both of them. The way she says it removes every line of responsibility between them. They are not married, but they share money, work, and worry. He closes his hand around the money and promises he will try to find his family and hold a proper wedding so she will not have to wait. She smiles through tears and tells him to ride slowly and avoid the holes in the rocky road. The engine breaks the quiet of the morning. He rides out through the gate and turns back once. She is still standing there, holding the edge of her shirt. When the bike disappears, she walks back into the yard. The warmth of the words they just shared remains, but the emptiness grows. At noon, the sun falls straight down on the path to the duck coop, and the ground cracks into dry lines. She walks slowly to keep balance because the bamboo basket is getting heavier. Her sandals are covered in mud from the field, and each step makes a soft pulling sound. She stops at the gate and calls the owner in the polite tone she always uses. The owner points inside and tells her to take the eggs and count later. She bends down and gathers each warm egg and lays them carefully in layers. She counts in a very low voice to avoid mistakes. The smell inside the coop is strong, but she no longer notices. This is the job that keeps their shared life from breaking. When she finishes, she carries the basket to her usual spot near the road, spreads a small sack on the ground, and arranges the eggs in rows. Customers come one by one. Some buy 10, some buy 30. She calculates quickly and speaks the numbers clearly. 3,500 for one, 20 for 70,000, 30 for 105,000. The small bills are kept in a separate pocket for change. Her hands keep moving, but her mind keeps going to him. She imagines him standing in front of a company gate, asking for a job and waiting for an answer. Each time she thinks of that, she looks toward the distant road. Sweat runs down her neck, but she does not wipe it because she is counting money. When the customers are gone, she sits down for a moment. The basket is lighter. The money in her pocket is heavier. It feels like she has completed one part of their shared future. The thought of the two of them sitting together on the steps in the evening makes her breathe easier. Dust rises when Toan rides into the town. He stops at a crossroads and scans both sides of the street for hiring signs. His shirt is wet on the back from the heat, but his eyes still move carefully from place to place. A familiar voice calls his name from behind. Alex walks toward him with the same fast way of speaking and the same strong pat on the shoulder. They embrace and laugh in the middle of the street. Alex takes him to a drink stall near the new branch of his construction company. The wooden table is old. The lemon tea has ice melting slowly. Toan tells everything from the beginning without leaving any detail. He talks about the assets being sold, about having nothing left except the motorbike and the woman waiting for him at home. When he finishes, he exhales as if he has put down something very heavy. Alex listens, nods, and says he will call his partners to find a suitable position. He gives his phone number and tells him to contact any time. The small piece of paper in Toan's hand feels like a new plan. He drinks the tea and watches the people passing by and thinks about her selling eggs under the sun. For the first time in many days, he sees a clear direction. The motorbike starts again. The road home is still long and full of holes, but today he rides with his back straight. Late in the afternoon, red sunlight covers the thatched roof and the line of trees behind the yard. The air cools after a hot day, but the ground still holds the smell of straw and soil. Toan pushes the motorbike into the yard. Dust from the road still clings to his shirt and pants. The sound of the wheels makes Tu Diem look up from sweeping. She stops immediately. Her eyes brighten before she can hide the worry she has carried all day. She walks toward him and asks softly if he is back. He nods, tired but clearly lighter than in the morning. They sit on the steps in front of the house. He explains in detail about meeting Alex and the promise to introduce him to a suitable position through construction partners. He makes it clear that nothing is confirmed yet. It is only a promise and a phone number, but at least it is a direction instead of riding without purpose. She listens carefully and holds his hand tightly, as if afraid the good news might disappear. She says that in difficult times, a friend who still remembers and is willing to help is valuable. She does not ask about salary or title. She asks when he will call Alex again. He says he will call tonight to confirm and possibly meet tomorrow in town. He looks into her eyes and says what he needs most right now is for her to stay healthy and stay beside him. No big house is required immediately, no large amount of money, just not losing each other. She smiles and tears fall, but she does not cry out loud. She says she believes he can rebuild, not because of luck, but because he keeps trying every day. They sit close for several more minutes, listening to the wind through the banana trees. The pressure remains. The job is uncertain. The future is unclear. But today feels different from yesterday. At least there is a call to make and a meeting that may happen. When the sun disappears completely, only a pale purple remains in the sky. They stand up and prepare a simple dinner: rice, boiled vegetables, and some remaining eggs from her sales. Toan washes his hands at the well. The cold water clears his mind. While eating, he explains his plan clearly. If the opportunity from Alex works out, he will start from zero and not think about his old reputation. If there is no immediate result, he will take temporary work to cover daily expenses. He speaks in specific steps so she knows he is serious. She nods and says she will continue selling eggs and may find another duck supplier to increase quantity. They do not speak about hardship as tragedy. They speak like two partners planning a small production system, dividing responsibility clearly. After dinner, Toan takes out his old phone and calls Alex. The conversation is short, but enough to confirm a meeting for the next morning. He puts the phone down and exhales slowly. One small step has been completed. Meanwhile, at the end of the darkening village road, Ty and Lich sit close to a small fire. The flames light their faces and reveal tension and exhaustion. Ty curses because they have not earned money for many days. Lich talks about debt pressure. They mention a location they passed during Tet and say it might be a good target because they believe no one will notice. Crime is no longer a passing thought. It is becoming a plan. They discuss movement and timing. There is no long-term vision in their minds, only quick money to escape immediate pressure. They do not know that information about them has already been recorded. At the local police station under cold fluorescent light, an officer reports that Ty and Lich are hiding in an abandoned house near the field. The leader orders immediate action to prevent them from carrying out their plan. The team splits into two directions. Engines start, headlights cut through the night. There are no loud sirens, only clear focus on every face. The goal is safe arrest without unnecessary conflict. Night grows deeper. The abandoned house stands alone in the dark field with only cricket sounds around. When headlights sweep across it, Ty and Lich react in panic. The door is pushed open and officers shout for them to stand still. They try to react but cannot escape. Handcuffs lock quickly. They shout that they have done nothing, but their actions have already been tracked. Officer Sun escorts Thai to the vehicle and orders fast movement to the station. Lich stops shouting when he realizes there is no way out. There are no gunshots, no injuries, only footsteps and engines fading into the night. Far away, Toan and Tu Diem's farm remains quiet under faint moonlight. They do not know a harmful plan has just been stopped nearby. Inside the small house, the lights are off. They lie next to each other after a long day. Pressure still exists, but the feeling of being trapped has eased. They have discussed plans and agreed on what to do tomorrow. The difference lies in choice. One side chooses quick and risky money. The other chooses slow and steady steps. The night returns to silence. Wind moves across the field and keeps the fragile balance between wrongdoing and the chance to rebuild.
Câu chuyện theo chân Toàn và Tu Diem trong một ngày nhiều biến động nhưng đầy hy vọng. Buổi sáng họ cùng đứng trước sân, ngắm cúc nở, nhặt đá và nói về chiếc bàn nhỏ cho tương lai. Trong khi Toàn chuẩn bị lên đường tìm việc với số tiền ít ỏi Tu Diem đưa. Ở nhà, cô cần mẫn lấy trứng vịt, bán từng quả, tính toán từng đồng để giữ cuộc sống chung. Trên thị trấn, Toàn bất ngờ gặp lại Alex, người bạn cũ hứa giúp anh tìm cơ hội mới, mở ra hướng đi sau chuỗi ngày bế tắc. Chiều xuống, hai người chia sẻ tin vui và lập kế hoạch làm lại từ đầu. Song song đó, Thái và Lịch âm thầm toan tính phạm pháp nhưng bị công an bắt giữ ngay trong đêm.